The studio lights were too bright, almost blinding. The kind of brightness that doesn't just illuminate faces, it exposes truths people try to hide. Selena Gomez sat still, her fingers gently interlocked on her lap, her expression calm. But her eyes told a different story. Across the table, Sunny Hostin leaned forward, her voice measured but sharp, the kind of tone that makes an entire audience hold its breath. And in that exact moment, something shifted. Before we dive into what happened next, make sure you subscribe to Talk Battles, hit that like button, and drop a comment. Because what you're about to witness isn't just another interview. It's a moment that left an entire studio in stunned silence. The tension had been building long before the cameras even started rolling. Selena had just come off a whirlwind of success. Her latest projects were dominating headlines. Her critically acclaimed performances, her music that felt more personal than ever, and her growing influence beyond entertainment. She wasn't just a pop star anymore. She was a force. And Sunny? She wasn't just hosting. She had been making waves of her own, balancing legal commentary, social issues, and deeply personal discussions that had shaped her identity on the show. She had a reputation for asking the questions no one else dared to ask. The kind of questions that don't just invite answers, they demand them. As the segment began, the conversation started off light. Laughter echoed through the studio. The audience clapped, relaxed, comfortable. Selena smiled as she spoke about her latest work, her voice soft but confident. "I think this is the first time I've really felt in control of my story," she said, her tone carrying a quiet strength. "Not just as an artist, but as a person." Sunny nodded, her lips forming a polite smile. But there was something behind it, something calculating. "And that's interesting," Sunny replied, tilting her head slightly. "Because for a long time, people felt like they were watching you struggle to find that control." A subtle shift. Selena's smile didn't disappear, but it tightened. The audience stirred. "I mean," Sunny continued, her voice steady, "you've been very open about your personal challenges, your health, your relationships. Do you ever feel like that openness has overshadowed your actual work?" A murmur rippled through the crowd. Selena blinked once. Slowly. It was the kind of question that sounded polite on the surface, but carried an edge underneath. She inhaled gently. "I think being honest about my life doesn't take away from my work," Selena said, her voice calm but firmer now. "If anything, it adds depth to it. People connect with truth." Sunny leaned back slightly, crossing her arms. "But is it your truth, or the version of truth the public expects from you?" The room went still. You could feel it, the shift from conversation to confrontation. Selena's fingers tightened, just slightly. "What do you mean by that?" she asked, her voice no longer soft, but steady. Sunny didn't hesitate. "I mean, you've built a brand around vulnerability. But sometimes people question whether that vulnerability is selective." A collective gasp. Somewhere in the audience, someone whispered, "Wow." Selena's expression changed. Not dramatically, not explosively, but enough. Enough for anyone paying attention to realize this wasn't going to stay polite. For a brief moment, Selena looked down, not in defeat, but in thought. And when she looked back up, there was something different in her eyes. Something sharper. "I think that's a really interesting perspective," she said slowly. "But I also think it's easy to sit across from someone and analyze their life without actually understanding what they've been through." The audience erupted into a mix of applause and tension. Sunny's eyebrows lifted slightly. "Oh, I'm not analyzing," she replied, her tone tightening. "I'm asking what a lot of people are already thinking." Selena let out a small, almost disbelieving laugh. "Are they?" she asked. Now the air felt heavier. The kind of heavy that presses against your chest. Sunny leaned forward again. "Yes," she said plainly. "Because when you share parts of your life publicly, you invite that scrutiny. You don't get to choose which parts people question." Selena nodded slowly, as if considering the words. But inside, something was building. "You're right," she said. "I don't get to choose what people question, but I do get to choose how I respond to it." A pause. A long one. And then, "But what I won't do," Selena continued, her voice gaining intensity, "is let anyone suggest that my honesty is some kind of performance. Because it's not." The audience clapped, louder this time. Sunny didn't back down. "But can you understand why people might feel that way?" Selena leaned forward now, mirroring Sunny's posture. And suddenly, it didn't feel like an interview anymore. It felt like a face-off. "I can understand curiosity," Selena said. "I can understand concern. But questioning someone's authenticity, that's different. Her voice didn't rise, but it cut through the room like a blade. Sunny's expression hardened just slightly. So you're saying there's no room for critique? Selena shook her head. No, she replied. I'm saying there's a difference between critique and assumption. The audience was completely silent now. Every word, every glance, every breath felt amplified. Sunny opened her mouth to respond, but for the first time, she hesitated. Just for a second, and Selena noticed. You said something earlier, Selena continued, her voice calm but unwavering, about people watching me struggle to find control. Sunny nodded slowly. Yes. Selena leaned back slightly, her gaze steady. What people were actually watching was me surviving. The words landed like a shockwave. A ripple of emotion moved through the audience. Some clapped. Some sat frozen. Sunny's posture shifted. For the first time, she didn't immediately respond. Selena's voice softened, but only slightly. There's a difference between losing control and fighting to regain it, she said. And I think that's something that gets misunderstood a lot. The tension hadn't disappeared. If anything, it had deepened. Because now, it wasn't just about a question. It was about something bigger. Identity. Perception. Truth. Sunny finally spoke again, her tone quieter, but still firm. And do you think the public owes you that understanding? Selena didn't even blink. No, she said. But I owe it to myself to be honest, whether people understand it or not. A beat. A long, heavy beat. And somewhere in the background, the audience began to clap again. Slowly. Then louder. But the energy in the room wasn't celebratory. It was charged. Because everyone could feel it. This wasn't over. Not even close. The applause didn't feel like celebration. It felt like pressure building under the surface, like something was about to crack. Selena Gomez sat there, composed on the outside, but the air around her had changed. The warmth from earlier was gone. In its place, something sharper, heavier. Across from her, Sunny Hostin adjusted slightly in her seat, her expression controlled, but her eyes more focused now. This wasn't casual conversation anymore. This was territory neither of them was willing to give up. For a brief moment, the cameras caught the audience, some leaning forward, whispering, others completely still. Everyone sensed it. Sunny broke the silence first. You said you owe it to yourself to be honest, she began, her tone measured but probing. But honesty can look different depending on the moment, can it? Especially when you're in the public eye. Selena tilted her head slightly, studying her. Honesty is honesty, she replied. It's not supposed to be comfortable. Sunny nodded slowly, but there was a faint smile, one that didn't quite reach her eyes. True, she said. But sometimes what people present as honesty is also strategy. A ripple moved through the audience again. Selena didn't respond immediately this time. She let the words sit. Let them breathe. Her fingers gently tapped against her armrest, once, twice, then stilled. Do you think I'm being strategic right now? She asked, her voice calm but pointed. Sunny didn't hesitate. I think you're very aware of your impact, she replied. And I think you've learned how to use that awareness very effectively. A few gasps. A few nods. Selena leaned forward slightly, her gaze locking in. Of course I'm aware, she said. I've been in this industry since I was a kid. You learn quickly that every word you say can be twisted, reshaped, or taken out of context. Her voice carried more weight now. But being aware doesn't mean being fake. The audience clapped again, short, tense bursts. Sunny's posture straightened. I didn't say fake, she countered. I said strategic. There's a difference. Selena gave a small, almost incredulous smile. Sometimes that difference only exists in how people choose to interpret it. The tension climbed higher. Sunny leaned in again, her voice lowering just enough to draw everyone closer. Let's talk about interpretation then, she said. Because a lot of people interpreted your recent statements, about stepping back, about protecting your peace, as selective boundaries. Selena's expression shifted ever so slightly. Selective how? She asked. Sunny held her gaze. Selective in the sense that you choose when to engage and when to disappear. And that can leave people feeling like they're only getting pieces of you when it benefits your narrative. The audience reacted louder this time, some surprised, some uncomfortable. Selena exhaled slowly, her jaw tightening just a fraction. So I'm supposed to be available all the time? She asked, her tone still controlled, but now unmistakably firmer. Sunny raised an eyebrow. No, but when you build a connection with an audience based on openness, There's an expectation that comes with that. Selena nodded once, slowly. There's also a human being behind that expectation, she replied. A beat. A strong one. I'm not a story people can consume whenever they want, Selena continued. I'm a person who's allowed to step back when things get overwhelming. The audience broke into applause again, louder this time, more supportive. But Sunny didn't retreat. And yet, she said, her voice cutting through the clapping, you return. With new projects, new revelations, new pieces of your story. The clapping faded. And that's where some people feel conflicted, Sunny added, because it starts to feel curated. The word hung in the air like a challenge. Selena's eyes narrowed just slightly. Curated? She repeated. Yes, Sunny said. Carefully chosen. Carefully timed. For a moment, Selena said nothing. And that silence, it spoke volumes. The cameras zoomed in closer. The audience leaned in further. Then, Selena let out a quiet breath and shook her head, a small smile forming. But it wasn't light. It was the kind of smile that comes when someone decides they're done holding back. You know what's interesting? She said. Sunny didn't respond. What's interesting is how often women, especially women in this industry, are told that their emotions are too much until those same emotions become the reason people pay attention. The audience reacted instantly. Cheers, claps, murmurs of agreement. Selena's voice grew stronger. When I was struggling, it was too messy. When I stepped back, it was too distant. And now that I'm speaking again, it's too curated. She paused, letting each word land. So which one is it? The room erupted. Sunny held her composure, clearly felt the shift. That's a fair point, she admitted. But it doesn't mean the questions go away. Selena nodded. They shouldn't, she said. But the assumptions should. A brief silence followed. And then Sunny did something unexpected. She changed direction, but not the intensity. Let's talk about your journey then, she said. Because you've been very open about your health, your mental struggles, your darkest moments. Selena's expression softened, but only slightly. Yes, she said quietly. Sunny leaned back, her tone now less confrontational, but still probing. Do you ever worry that by sharing those moments so publicly, you lose ownership of them? The question landed differently. Less sharp, but deeper. Selena's eyes flickered for a moment, as if something more personal had been touched. I used to, she admitted. The audience grew quiet again. But then I realized something, she continued. Those moments don't belong to the public. They don't belong to headlines. They belong to me. Her voice carried emotion now, not explosive, but real. And sharing them doesn't take that away. It gives them purpose. Sunny watched her closely. And what is that purpose? She asked. Selena didn't hesitate. To remind people they're not alone. A soft murmur spread through the room. But here's the thing, Selena added, her tone sharpening again. That purpose doesn't mean I owe anyone constant access to my life. Sunny nodded slowly, absorbing the words. And yet, she said, people will always want more. Selena gave a small shrug. They can want, she replied. That doesn't mean they get. A few people in the audience laughed nervously. Because the truth in that statement, it was undeniable. The tension was still there. Still thick. Still unresolved. Sunny looked down briefly at her notes, then back up. And what about the criticism? She asked. The people who say you've changed. That you're not the same person they connected with years ago. Selena smiled faintly. I hope I'm not, she said. The answer caught some off guard. Sunny tilted her head. Why? Selena leaned back, her expression calm again. But this time, there was confidence in it. A grounded kind of strength. Because growth isn't supposed to look the same, she said. If I was still the same person I was years ago, that would mean I didn't learn anything. The audience clapped, this time more unified. Sunny nodded, but her eyes remained sharp. And for the people who feel left behind by that growth? Selena paused, just for a moment. Then she said quietly, then maybe they weren't meant to come this far with me. The words settled over the room like a final note in a song. Haunting, powerful, impossible to ignore. And just like that, the energy shifted again. Not explosive, not chaotic, but deeper. Because now, this wasn't just a confrontation. It was something more personal, more revealing, and somehow more intense than before. And everyone in that studio knew. This conversation was heading somewhere even bigger. The words lingered in the air long after Selena finished speaking, like an echo no one quite knew how to respond to. Maybe they weren't meant to come this far with me. It wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive. but it carried a weight that settled deep into the room. For a moment, everything slowed. The audience wasn't clapping this time. They weren't reacting loudly at all. Instead, there was a quiet tension. People exchanging glances, nodding slowly, others sitting back as if trying to process what they had just witnessed. Across the table, Sunny Hostin remained still. But something had changed. Her posture was still composed, her expression still professional. Yet there was a subtle shift in her eyes. Not hesitation exactly, but recalibration. As if she realized this conversation had moved beyond surface-level debate and into something far more personal. She exhaled softly. "That's a powerful statement," she said, her tone quieter now. Less sharp, but still deliberate. "But it also sounds final." Selena didn't immediately respond. She looked down briefly, her fingers tracing the edge of her sleeve, as if grounding herself. Then she looked back up, meeting Sunny's gaze with a calm that felt earned, not performed. "Not final," she said. "Just honest." Sunny studied her carefully. "Honesty can sometimes create distance," she replied. Selena nodded. "It can," she agreed. "But pretending doesn't create connection either." A soft murmur of agreement spread through the audience. Sunny leaned slightly forward again, though the intensity had shifted. This wasn't an attack now, it was something more layered, more nuanced. "But there's a balance, isn't there?" Sunny asked. "Between protecting yourself and maintaining the connection that brought people to you in the first place." Selena's lips pressed together for a moment. "That balance nearly broke me," she admitted. The room went completely still. No whispers. No movement. Just silence. Selena continued, her voice steady, but carrying something deeper now. "For a long time, I thought I had to give everything," she said. "Every feeling, every struggle, every piece of myself, because that's what people connected to." Her eyes flickered, just briefly. "But the truth is, the more I gave, the more I lost track of who I was doing it for." Sunny didn't interrupt. Neither did the audience. "I wasn't living for myself anymore," Selena added quietly. "I was living for expectations." The words hit differently, because now it wasn't about defending herself. It was about revealing something real. Sunny's expression softened, just slightly. "And when did that change?" she asked. Selena took a breath. "It didn't happen all at once," she said. "It was small moments. Realizing I was exhausted. Realizing I was saying yes when I wanted to say no. Realizing I didn't recognize myself in the mirror anymore." Her voice wavered, just a fraction. "But the biggest moment," she continued, "was when I understood that survival isn't the same as living." A few people in the audience wiped their eyes. The energy in the room had shifted again, but this time it wasn't tense. It was emotional. Raw. Sunny nodded slowly, absorbing every word. "And now?" she asked. Selena's expression steadied. "Now I choose carefully," she said. "Not because I'm trying to control a narrative, but because I'm trying to protect a life." The distinction hung in the air. Sunny leaned back slightly, her hands resting together. "But from the outside," she said, "those two things can look very similar." Selena gave a small nod. "I know," she replied, "and I've made peace with that." A pause. A meaningful one. Sunny tilted her head. "You've made peace with being misunderstood?" she asked. Selena didn't hesitate. "Yes." The answer came quickly, firmly, and it carried a kind of quiet strength that filled the room. "Because not everyone is going to see you clearly," Selena continued. "And if you spend your whole life trying to fix that, you lose yourself again." The audience clapped softly, this time not out of excitement but recognition. Sunny watched her for a long moment. Then she asked something that shifted the tone once again. "And what about accountability?" The word landed sharply. Selena's expression changed, just slightly. "What about it?" she asked. Sunny leaned forward, her voice regaining some of its earlier edge. "You've talked about growth. About change. About protecting yourself," she said. "But growth also involves acknowledging mistakes. Publicly." A few heads in the audience nodded. "And there are people," Sunny continued, "who feel like you've avoided certain conversations. Certain criticisms." The tension crept back in. Slowly, Selena's posture straightened. "I've acknowledged my mistakes," she said. "Many times." Sunny's gaze didn't waver. "Some would argue, not all of them." A ripple moved through the crowd. Selena's jaw tightened. "Some people aren't looking for accountability," she replied. "They're looking for perfection." Sunny shook her head slightly. "Or maybe they're looking for consistency," she countered. The two locked eyes again. And just like that, The confrontation returned. But this time it felt different. Less explosive. More precise. Selena leaned forward, her voice calm, but unmistakably firm. Consistency doesn't mean exposing every part of your life on demand, she said. It means staying true to who you are, even when people don't like it. Sunny responded immediately. But how do people know who you truly are if they only see parts of you? Selena didn't flinch. They don't, she said simply. The bluntness caught the room off guard. A few quiet gasps. Selena continued, her voice steady. And that's okay. Sunny blinked. Okay, she repeated. Yes, Selena said. Because I'm not here to be fully understood by everyone. I'm here to live my life honestly, and let people take from that what they will. The audience reacted again, this time a mix of admiration and surprise. Sunny leaned back, studying her. And you're comfortable with that? She asked. Selena gave a small, confident nod. I had to be, she said. A pause. Then Sunny asked one more question, quieter this time, but heavier than anything before it. And if people walk away because of that? Selena looked at her, really looked at her. And then she said, they already have. Silence. Complete silence. No applause. No whispers. Just the weight of that truth settling over everyone in the room. Because it wasn't defensive. It wasn't emotional. It was acceptance. And somehow, that made it even more powerful. Sunny didn't speak immediately. For the first time since the conversation began, she seemed momentarily at a loss for words. The cameras lingered. The audience waited. And Selena sat there, calm, grounded, unshaken. Not trying to win. Not trying to convince. Just standing in her truth. And in that moment, the entire dynamic of the interview had shifted. But deep down, everyone could feel it. This wasn't the end. There was still something left unsaid. Something that would define everything that had just happened. And it was coming next. The silence didn't just linger, it deepened. It wrapped around the studio like a weight no one could quite shake off. Even the lights felt harsher now, as if they were exposing more than just faces, exposing truths, vulnerabilities, and everything in between. Selena Gomez didn't move. She didn't fidget. She didn't look away. She simply sat there, grounded in a way that felt unshakable. Across from her, Sunny Hostin remained still too. But the energy between them had completely transformed. This was no longer a clash. It was the aftermath of one. Sunny finally inhaled, slow and controlled, her fingers lightly pressing against the table as if steadying herself. You know, she began, her voice softer than it had been at any point before. Conversations like this, they don't happen often on live television. A faint, almost knowing murmur moved through the audience. Selena gave a small nod. Maybe they should, she replied. Sunny looked at her, really looked this time, not as an opponent, but as someone trying to understand. There's a risk in that, Sunny said. For both sides. Selena's lips curved slightly. Not quite a smile, but something close. There's always a risk in being real, she said. The audience responded, not with loud applause this time, but with a steady, building clapping that felt more meaningful than anything before. Sunny exhaled again, this time with a subtle shift in her posture. The sharp edges were gone. What remained was something more reflective. I think people at home are going to have a lot to say about this, she admitted. Selena let out a quiet breath, glancing briefly toward the audience, then back. They always do, she said. A light ripple of laughter broke through the tension, but it didn't last long. Because everyone knew this wasn't just another segment. This was the kind of moment that didn't stay in the studio. It followed you. Sunny leaned back, folding her hands. Let me ask you one last thing, she said. The words immediately shifted the room again. One last thing. Selena straightened slightly. Okay, she said. Sunny paused, not for effect, but because the weight of what she was about to ask actually mattered. When all of this fades, she said slowly, the headlines, the reactions, the opinions, what do you hope people take away from you? The question landed gently, but deeply. Selena didn't answer right away. She looked down for a moment, her expression thoughtful. The intensity that had carried her through the conversation softened into something quieter, more personal. When she finally spoke, her voice wasn't sharp. It wasn't defensive. It was real. I hope they take away that I tried, she said. The audience stilled. Tried to be honest. Tried to grow. Tried to figure things out, even when it wasn't pretty. Her eyes lifted again, meeting Sunny's. And I hope they understand that I'm still doing that, she added. A pause. A long one. Because I don't have it all figured out, Selena continued. And I don't think I ever will. The vulnerability in her voice was undeniable now. But I'm okay with that, she said. Something shifted in the room again. But this time, it wasn't tension. It was connection. Real, quiet connection. Sunny nodded slowly, her expression no longer guarded. I think that's something a lot of people can relate to, she said. Selena gave a small, grateful nod. For a brief moment, there was no conflict. No push. No pull. Just two people sitting across from each other, having said everything that needed to be said. And then, the audience began to clap. Not explosively, not dramatically, but steadily, respectfully. Some stood. Others remained seated, but their expressions said everything their voices didn't. Because they had witnessed something rare, something unscripted, something real. The camera slowly pulled back, capturing the full scene. The hosts, the guests, the audience all suspended in a moment that felt bigger than television. But outside that studio, the world was already reacting. Clips began circulating within minutes. Social media exploded with divided opinions. Some praised Selena Gomez for her composure, calling her responses powerful, raw, unfiltered. Others sided with Sunny Hostin, arguing that the questions needed to be asked, that accountability and scrutiny come with influence. Hashtags started trending. Debates ignited. Think pieces were written before the episode even finished airing. This wasn't just an interview, one headline read. It was a confrontation about truth in the spotlight. Another called it a defining moment in celebrity transparency. And somewhere in between all the noise, people chose sides. But back in the studio, as the applause slowly faded and the cameras prepared to cut, Selena leaned back in her chair, exhaling quietly. Not in relief, not in victory, but in release. Because this was never about winning. It was about being heard. Sunny glanced at her one last time, a subtle nod passing between them, an unspoken acknowledgement of everything that had just unfolded. No words, just understanding. The kind that only comes after tension, after conflict, after truth. And as the screen faded to black, one thing was certain. This moment wouldn't be forgotten. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Maybe not ever. Because it wasn't just about Selena Gomez. It wasn't just about Sunny Hostin. It was about something bigger. The cost of being seen. The weight of being heard. And the courage it takes to stand in your truth anyway. If you made it this far, drop your thoughts in the comments. Whose side are you on? Was Selena right to stand her ground? Or did Sunny ask the questions everyone needed answered? Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Talk Battles for more intense, emotional, and unforgettable showdowns just like this.